Hey everybody, it's Aram
And Timothy Bennett here.
Welcome to another episode of B&B Banter Bros. Go to the movies.
Season 2?
Episode 2.
2.
We did that one in sync.
Kinda. Not really.
It's fine. Nothing should ever be done in sync. And not even swimming. I don't like any of that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Things that are done in sync unnerve me. I don't know why.
That's why you don't have a mirror in the house.
It's true. That's why I don't go into changing rooms. With those changing rooms that got like 2 mirrors, all of a sudden it looks like that's like a million of you.
Every time I
Terrifying.
walk into one of those rooms, changing room, and there's a mirror, I always feel like there's somebody on the other side of the room watching me, and it creeps me out.
I have seen things on Facebook about how to tell if it's a two-way mirror or
You can usually
mirror.
tell.
There's like a way to like put your finger up against it. If you see a space, then it's a real mirror.
Yeah.
Why do people need to? I don't know. I guess yes, I would want to know, but at the same time, like, if I'm oblivious to the fact that you're watching me change, if you decide that you want to see my frumpy ass changing,
Right.
Fine.
Yeah.
Like that's whatever. Like it's not like I have to worry about my kid. Like I don't let him change and really let him go to stores at this point.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't like changing rooms to begin with.
I just know my sizes. Like I know
What you need?
I know what size my pants should be. I know what size my shoes should be. I know what size shirt I wear. So I pick them up and I leave.
Yeah.
I don't fucking need to change.
Yep.
If you need to try something on, then it's probably out of your wheelhouse and just keep away from it.
Yeah. I gain weight, so I have to try things on now. I'm no longer the sizes that I used to pick up.
That's just why you wear sizes bigger than what you should wear.
Which I usually have to because they don't have my size.
That's true.
Especially pants. I'm a 33. I'm goddamn square. But in pants size, it's almost non-existent.
Yeah, you're talking to a guy that wears a 29 length.
That's short.
I know. You know how hard it's been? Up until like the last few years, like for some reason, I could never find a 29. Like I could wear like a 34, 30 was my general pant size. And my pants would fucking drag on the ground if I wasn't wearing boots or something to keep them up.
Yep. Sad.
Infuriating.
It's a struggle though. Women bitch about clothing all the time, but honestly, I feel like men, we just don't care.
We just
That's
deal
the
with
difference. Yeah, we just deal with it. We don't care. I think that's the difference.
The
Struggle's there. We just don't care.
Essentially, the attitude is like, you know, not to get any feminists after us, but like the attitude of women is like, oh, they never have my size. Men's attitude is, oh, this is just how it is.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to hide as much as possible.
Yeah.
So
I wear baggy t-shirts and I wear jeans.
Yep.
You're not going to see anything like off of me.
Men don't have that kind of curves anyway. So
Well, I don't have any curves in general. Like I have no ass, so
you got a belly. That's about as much.
Yeah, that's the wrong end of the curvature.
Buddha belly. All right, so episode 2.
Yeah. So last week we did. Tim interviewed me about some of my tastes in music. What the fuck? Oh God.
Yes,
Sorry. Some of my tastes in movies and films. I kind of got some background information.
What season 2 is going to be about. B&B Banter Bros goes to the opera.
Goes to Tennessee or Nashville, whatever the fuck.
Well, that's country land. Stay away from that place.
We just fucking decimate that place.
Let's just go to Sweden. That's a little more tolerable.
Set it on fire.
Anyway.
Yeah. So last week we did an interview where Tim kind of asked me a few questions, kind of get a background, kind of a history, a feel of my taste in music. Fuck. Oh God. My episode of season 2 started off real well. Fuck. Okay. I'm gonna stop saying taste because I think that's what's fucking me up. Okay. All right.
Composure.
Oh, Jesus. So, my experience and my general likes and dislikes of films. Kind of a feel.
Your personal connection.
Yes, there we go.
That you have with films. I asked you some questions that try to dive a little more into your personal
some details, some background information
with
there
film.
We go.
Yep. Had nothing to do with music.
I didn't even talk about music last time. I don't know why I'm so fixated now. Anyway, so this week I'm going to ask Tim some questions, and we're going to get a little bit of a taste for what Tim is like. as far as that goes.
I've been told I taste salty and sweet,
You look salty most of the time, so
and I look sweet.
I mean, Kaylee might think so.
No, she thinks I'm bitter, which is probably
You
the
are.
rest of it. Yeah, a bitter old man.
Both of us are.
Yep.
All right. So the first question I am going to ask you is, what are some of your earliest memories as far as movies go? Like, do you remember like special movies that like your parents and you would watch?
Absolutely. So, like, my mother got me into films when I was very, very, very young, probably 3 or 4 that I can kind of recall. And she used to do we're super, super poor. So we used to go to the library, and my mom would let me, like rent a movie or something. And I always rented like the same film, and that was the old Universal classic horror films. And
Sure.
that was like Dracula and Wolf,
Mummy.
and Wolfman and the Mummy. But my
Sure.
favorite was Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
Apparently, I would like at least once a week. I'd always rent Phantom of the Opera.
Was that Boris Karloff or Bela Lugosi? Didn't one of those play him? Or no, Karloff was the Mummy and the
Yep.
Frankenstein.
and Bela Lugosi
Lugosi was Dracula.
Dracula. He may have been in.
It was Lon Chaney was the Wolfman. I feel like
He may have been in. Actually, I would have to look it up. I'm at a blank right now. But
Sorry.
So I used to. That was like my first introduction.
Okay.
I guess that I can recall. But we also, me and my mother, we would watch, like Star Trek, The Next Generation, together, and we would also watch, like one of the movies I remember us like watching together was Inner Space.
Oh, Inner Space. I remember that. That's a great
Yep.
movie.
So like those are kind of the first fondest kind of memories I remember as a kid. But when I would go and hang out with my grandparents, because we kind of talked about this with yours, is my grandfather was a big Western guy and a big military guy.
Sure.
I guess he spent 30 some years in the Navy. But we would watch like MASH a lot over at my grandparents'
on.
house. He was a big John Wayne fan, so John Wayne was usually on, and Clint Eastwood as well. But he always liked this, like I said, MASH was one of the top. Hogan's Heroes was another one. So I kind of grew up watching those
Okay.
with my grandparents. Pretty
Right
much
on.
about the same thing. That was like my childhood.
Yeah.
Right around the time that I started to get a little older, and then I started watching like Fraggle Rock. I used to watch a lot of Fraggle Rock.
Fraggle Rock. I remember.
And I used to watch the
Great show.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because that was my favorite. Even my mom dressed me up as Raphael for Halloween when I was like 5. So, but yeah.
That's legit. So we kind of touched on some of this question, but like besides the classics, do you have any other movies that were favorites of yours, like ones that you remember very well from your childhood that like maybe you don't watch as much anymore, but you remember them fondly from childhood?
Yep. Something that me and you both have in common is The Last Dragon.
Yeah.
I used to have back when you had to record things on tape, we had a VHS tape that had like 3 films on it, and I wore that tape out. And the film was, I think it was a movie called The Last Kiss or something like that, which was like a suspenseful / horror film about a weird creature entity that lived inside people. And then you had
I think
to
it's just
kiss.
called The Kiss.
Is it called The
I've seen
Kiss?
that movie.
Yeah, like one of the biggest scenes is like there's like a guy walking into his kitchen and there's a cat in the cupboard, and he like freaks out and the cat jumps out of the cupboard and attacks him. But yeah,
Classic 80s movie.
yeah, that movie was on there, and then it was The Last Dragon,
Yep.
and then it was The Barbarians.
The Barbarians.
Yep. And
Is that with the Paul?
yep,
the Paul
Paul.
twins?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Weren't their last names Paul?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
I can't remember the first name for the life of me.
cares?
But yeah, that was one of the films I watched consistently as well. It was always The Last Dragon and The Barbarians. But those 2 films
Yeah.
particular were my favorite as a kid.
I don't think I've ever seen the Barbarians. I remember those guys from another movie where like
They were cops.
There's one where they were cops. There's one where they were truckers. And
Maybe one of them was a trucker. Maybe one of them
might
was a
have been.
cop.
But I remember.
'Cause I think they only have 2 films.
Maybe. But I remember because the one where he's a trucker, Richard Ball is the boss.
Yeah.
When we talked about on my episode, Richard Ball being in just tons of shit that
Yep.
like we don't remember. He's the boss in that movie, and I remember him just yelling at this guy that essentially, even though he was taller than him, like he was still seemed like he was dwarfed by how buff the other guy was.
Yeah. Though. Well, I mean, for being twin bodybuilders, like I don't think they're extremely tall, probably, but
No, I think
they're broad.
Yeah.
They're definitely
They
broad.
got
That's
some
why,
shoulders.
Yeah, that's why the Barbarians was like perfect.
Yeah,
But-
for sure. They've definitely got the build and the look for
Yep.
that kind of film.
And I can't remember her name, but she went to go do like CSI Miami or something like that. But the chick, she's a super hot chick.
Like she was on the original CSI.
She's one of those CSI. I just don't remember which one. I'd have to look her up.
Marge Helgenberger, I think was the
Yeah,
big
don't.
name on the original one.
I don't remember, but she was in the Barbarians, and that was her
Okay.
debut film. And she goes off and does.
That seems
She's
seems
hot.
about right.
She's hot. That's all I gotta say. She's probably in her like.
if it's the woman I'm thinking of, she aged very well too.
She's probably only in her like 40s.
Oh, maybe
Yeah,
I'm not
because
thinking of the right
Barbarians
person.
came in 1987. That's when it was released. So she would have been in her like early 20s in this film. So yeah, either way, those are definitely the 2. But I also absolutely love The Princess Bride
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of a good.
and
If
Big
you
Trouble
ever-
in Little China. Those 2 films are
If
like
you
my
ever meet
favorites.
someone that doesn't like The Princess Bride, get away
They're
from them because
communists.
they're probably a serial killer.
Or commies.
Yeah. And Big
They're
Trouble
probably
in
from
Little
North Korea.
Big Trouble in Little China will be a movie we have to do
Yeah,
at a later date.
Those are 2 films that I grew up watching and I've always loved.
I also
So-
love that you brought up Inner Space earlier. Inner Space, I don't think I've ever met anybody else that knows about that movie.
Yeah, what is it? Martin Short and
Martin Short,
Dennis Quaid.
Quaid, Meg Ryan.
Yeah,
I don't think those are the 3 big names in that movie.
yeah. It's a weird movie. It's
It's a very weird movie.
very weird. But it's maybe one that we'd have to. But I just have just one of those fonts because at the time in my childhood, we were living on a farm in a van. So
Okay.
like that's what we watched when we were sitting there. Like me and my mom would snuggle on the little van couch thing or whatever it was, and we watched Inner Space.
Yeah, great
and
movie.
I do believe that was also the same time I was like having to bathe in the sink. So like those are kind of the memories I remember, and Inner Space happened to just stick in my mind.
Way to
So-
bring the mood down.
I don't know. Inner Space, that's the positive side of it, I guess.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's
So-
where I first heard that. I think that's Sam Cooke that does the song.
I don't know.
I'd have to look it up. That song about Cupid. I think that's Sam Cooke. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I have to look it up. Anyway, next question. So, what? Go into specifics about what draws you to like a certain movie. Like, obviously, there's movies where you kind of watch it just because it's there and
Yep.
whatever. But when a movie really catches you, what really draws you in?
So it's kind of a complicated one for me because of the way that my mind works.
I figured.
A very complex mechanism going up on inside my head. So a lot of it, obviously, like you said earlier, has to do with the mood that I'm in.
Yeah.
But I love complex films, and I also like those unexpected and push the boundaries kind of films.
Okay.
I think those are the ones that I'm more excited to see. I have more anticipation to watch, or those films I think are going to be like, oh wow, they went there, didn't they? Because I'm not a happy ending kind of guy.
Right.
Other than there's few films that are appropriate, like The Princess Bride. I like those films that are seem more appropriate endings, not done because everyone wants it to be that way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one way I look at it is I like those complex stories. But I'm also...
You like movies that keep you guessing.
Yeah, because, I mean, you know me very well. it's not hard for me to guess what's going to come next.
Yeah.
I just have that kind of mind. I've watched enough films. I understand stories, and for the most part, I go, well, if I was to write this, how would I do it?
Yeah, for sure.
And essentially, I do pretty good at being able to call it throughout the film. In fact, me and Devin, at one point when we were living in our apartment together, like 4 years ago, we used to watch the Twilight Zone, the old Twilight Zones.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd watch like the first like 5 episodes, and before, because it's one of those things, like I remember watching them, but I don't think it was anything familiar. Like I couldn't recall any of those episodes.
Right.
But he would go, okay, watch the first like 3 minutes of it, and then we'll read the little synopsis or whatever, the description of what the episode is, and he'll pause it, and then he'll say, what's going to be the ending? That was our little drinking game.
Interesting.
Essentially. And I think out of the 5 or 10 episodes that we did that with, I think I only missed maybe 1 or 2. And I do believe that Devin even said, it's not that you missed it, it's that you were there. It's just like essentially just a flip of the coin about
Oh, it was a 50-50 shot?
Essentially I had it pretty much marked, but it was just like a slight detail.
Oh, sure.
So even then, yeah, that's
Close
just how
enough.
my mind works. And that's why I want to be surprised.
Yeah.
And when films can do that, I go, hell yeah, touche. Right. Yep,
For sure.
That goes on my list,
Yeah.
We talked about The Sixth Sense at one point, and that's kind of where those are one of those films. I love those films that you just go, motherfucker. I did not see that coming.
Right.
But I also, I'm a guy who loves to laugh. And it's also kind of hard to make me laugh. But I also have a dry, subtle humor. So, like, sometimes it's one of those things where I'm drawn into those drama comedy things that can go, you can still have all the drama in the world, and you just you just throw in little subtle, sense of humor things in there, and
little barbs or something like that people throw out, and you're like, oh, wait.
And that's why I loved House, the TV series House. That did it perfectly. Hugh Laurie, comic relief. Everything else, complete drama.
Yeah.
So, perfect balance. I love that.
Yeah. Next question is, you kind of actually touched on this already, actually. Do you find yourself being overly critical of movies, especially as you get older? Like,
define overly critical, because
do you feel like you are maybe expecting too much out of certain movies?
No, because I usually go in with almost no expectation. Otherwise, I'm going to be disappointed. So it's actually yes, kind of. Right. I think what it is I know that the realm of films and trying to come up with something original, that's the issue. I get very disappointed when it's nothing original, because nobody makes anything original.
Well, today's day and age is all remakes anyway.
Yeah, I'm like, it's great if you want to make it out of a book, sure, whatever. Well, most of the time, people who haven't heard of the book might like the movie, and those who have read the book are going to go, well, what's this horse shit? Right. And so you're not really trying to make everybody happy.
You're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to make everybody happy, but you're essentially going, I'm okay if this fails on one side of the spectrum and not do any justice to the book. That's essentially when people want to remake or make a movie adapted from a book. Yeah, I believe that they're going, I can make this better. That's what I think, because essentially that's how I feel. You're saying that if I make this into a film, people will like it more than they will like the book. No, I'm not saying that that's exactly how it is. I just feel like a lot of people that like books are not going to like the film. I'm not the only person that says that. People are like, oh, the books are better. Well, yeah, of course.
The general consensus is the book is better.
But there are several films out there that are adapted from books that didn't need to be made. And that's my issue. Why was this made?
That's valid.
You know what I mean? The book wasn't even that great. Why are you making the movie?
Yeah.
But
shit, they made a Dora the Explorer movie. So
yeah, I enjoyed it.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought it was all right.
I felt it was unnecessary, but that's me.
I mean, yeah, it was unnecessary, but I enjoyed it. I think that I go in very open-minded. I've always been very open-minded about these
Yeah.
things. I'll watch any movie. If somebody wants me to watch it, I'll watch it. Usually, I try to. And I think the older I get, the more I've accepted the spectrum, the broad range of films. And when I was younger, I was a little more particular, you know. So definitely, the older I get, the less criticizing I become.
Mm-hmm.
And then the younger I was, the little more particular I was. So I can't really say it was criticizing. I was more critical when I was younger because I don't think I had much to say about it as much as I just didn't open my...
You were an actual 20-year-old. You were an asshole. Like,
oh, this is younger than that.
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s, that was different. I was more accepted. I'm talking about like when I was like 13, 14.
oh, then you definitely were.
That's what I'm saying.
13-year-olds are dicks. Let's be
Pretty
honest
much
about
right
that.
up to high school. But as soon as I got out of high school, like my mind expanded further. Actually, when I started working at the cinema, my mind expanded because I watched every single film that came in through the theaters, every single one, because I got free movies, free popcorn. Why not? I had nothing better to do. Oh, I got 2 hours to kill. I'm gonna go watch a movie. Oh, I've already seen this one. Oh, I've watched this one 5 times. You know.
That's legit.
So I would watch every film. Plus, if anybody asked me, "Oh, that movie came out. Have you seen it?" and I can go, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, what's your take on it?" It's like, "Well, this is what it's kind of bases on, or whatever." Did you like it? No, but you might.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, that basically paints you as being able to say that you expanded more because it helped you not career-wise, but it helped you like flourish a little bit more.
Well, for me, it's
That seems like a note of maturity would be what I'm trying to say.
no. It wasn't. It wasn't really anything to do with like other people. For me, it was just expanding my appreciating the art. You know, so that's something that as a teenager I started to learn because I was more artistic back then. You know, like, especially with music, my drawing, my whatever it is I did. I was a little more in tuned and honed into my art side, my artistic side.
Sure.
And so I was more apt to respect the art form of anything. And the older I got, I just kind of held on to that mentality or that way of thinking when I went into watch movies or whatever. Because I used to love going to, like in school, in high school, we had like a little art area. And I used to love going to our little gallery. It was all high school art stuff, and some of them were horseshit, and some of them were fantastic. But I could appreciate that this is something that somebody did here in the school. I even had a piece that went up in our like art gallery, something rather auction.
Oh, cool.
So I had a piece that got sold off. They had to be donated by me, so it's not like they could just sell it.
Oh, so you couldn't make any money off of it?
No, it went right back to the art
Bitch
program.
move.
But they asked, "Hey, we wanted to put your piece of art into, you know, the auction gallery, whatever, for the school, and then whatever money it get, you know, sold on, it was probably not much, like $20 or something.
Well, still, I mean, for school supplies and shit like
Yeah,
that.
the money would just go
goes a
right
long
back
way.
into the art program. So,
Right.
and that's what they
further
did.
than you'd think.
And yeah, I remember that they said, I think I got like a little certificate of sell or something like
cool,
that,
man.
but I didn't care.
My school never did shit like that. I think any of my schools, like the 3 that I went to.
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, yeah, the arts, appreciating art form. And I still hold on to that. That's why I watch everything, it's the art form. Because when I started going to college, you know, like 3 years ago, I never really watched a lot of foreign films. There were a handful, obviously, but like I didn't really get into foreign films. And it wasn't until I started going to college and I learned more about the art of film that my mind just went, it just exploded with like, wow, things are so in depth and so deep. There's so much poetry behind this shit. You know, there's much more meaning and symbolism because I'm all about the symbolism. And when I learned about that stuff, man, there's probably not a film out there I can't sit there and analyze and go, oh, I know what that's about. So I started to find I had a different twist on how I look at films too. Sometimes it's ruined it, for
Yeah.
sure. But other times I can still enjoy it.
As long as you can still enjoy it sometimes. I mean, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Those were the 4 questions I had written down.
Yeah.
But I am going to ask you, the last question you asked me last week was about if you had to make a movie, what kind of movie would you put yourself in?
I honestly, I lean towards urban fantasy-esque kind of stuff, but it's a little tough. So I like the idea of magic, and I'm not like thinking of like just like wizardry and stuff like that, but like the idea of like real magic in the real world. You know what I mean?
Kind of like The Magicians a little bit?
Yeah, but I've
little
always,
bit.
yeah, I guess if you want to break it down, I guess, and that's something like even like my urban fantasy, like Sandman Slim, like that kind of realm. I love that heaven hell concept, supernatural. Essentially, I always looked at if it wasn't so, I would probably die like right away,
Right.
because I have no survival skills of that nature.
Oh, yeah.
That would be kind of, I think, the world I feel like I would feel most appropriate in. I wouldn't say that maybe it's what I'd want to, because it'd be a very lonely life, but
Right.
anybody who knows me and the way I have been over the years and the way I grew up and all this stuff, it's kind
It's a
of
natural progression. for
yeah,
you.
it's just kind of the way I was built, is
Sure.
to go
Yeah, yeah.
survival mode and on my own, me against the world kind of thing. And I think that throwing a little bit of magic and
Sure.
you know, some basic borderline creatures and monsters, and if I can destroy them. But
Mark Maron said it best when he talked to me. He's like, if there's a zombie apocalypse, I'm food in 5 minutes.
right, I'd like to think that I wouldn't, but I don't know.
I'd love to think that I wouldn't, but I mean, let's
Oh.
be honest. Like, being honest with myself, I'm not gonna make it long.
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna make it about as long as it takes me to have to leave my apartment.
Yeah, I have often thought about that myself. Like I like, if it depends on how they are. If they're like The Walking Dead, I might actually be okay.
Yeah.
But if they're like Dawn of the Dead, the remake, the 2006
Oh, yeah.
or 4, Dawn
mean
of the
ones
Dead,
that actually
3,
won?
I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So, but not to mention, this is also something I have to. I feel like I may have to leave my kid and wife left behind.
Well, you're on your own.
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could manage to keep them alive too. They're just gonna drag me down. They're gonna slow me down. Like, but
Tim's true colors coming through.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll fight like hell for them for a little bit.
Until it looks like you're not gonna make it.
I'll at least take Wesley with. I don't have to outrun the zombie. I just have to outrun you.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I guess that'd be a simple, kind of the fantasy world, but I feel like I'm more about an urban kind of thing. Although I do love, like, Lord of the Rings kind of beauty. The fantasy
Yeah.
world beauty is something I dream about a lot.
Just go to New Zealand.
Oh, God. Well, I can just go to Switzerland or, like, Austria. Let's go somewhere over there where it's pure and they still have oxygen that's breathable. The water you can drink right out of the freaking river. It's like paradise.
I don't never touch this stuff. Fish fun.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyways, yeah, those were the questions I have for you. I think we'll wrap it up then.
Cool. All right, well, yeah.
Yeah, this has been episode 2 of season 2 of B&B Banter Bros. Go to Hollywood.
Go to the movie.
Go to the movies. Hollywood movies. I'm having a time. I'll get better, I promise. I'm sorry.
It's not going to the opera either.
At least I didn't mention music this time.
Nope.
I
not
stayed within the realm of movies at least.
after we got over that. All right, well, yeah, we'll catch you later. Stay tuned.
Later.
Peace.